Everybody like and subscribe, praise the bell icon. Story number 1. It was the summer of 2009 when 13-year-old Hannah was invited to a sleepover at her best friend Marcy's house. It wasn't anything fancy, just 4 girls, pizza, scary movies, and gossip. The sleepover was being held at Marcy's new house, a massive, creaky Victorian on the outskirts of their small Michigan town. Marcy's parents had inherited it from a great-aunt who had passed away the year before. The girls joked it looked haunted, and honestly, it did. Long, narrow hallways, stained glass windows, and a strange iron door in the basement that was padlocked shut. They spent the evening doing the usual, painting nails, watching The Ring, and making prank calls. Around midnight, the power flickered. The lights dimmed to a dull orange glow, then fully cut out for 10 seconds before coming back. They laughed it off. Old houses did that, right? But not long after, things started getting weird. Hannah was the first to notice it. As they sat in sleeping bags in the living room, she swore she saw a shadow move across the hallway. No one else saw it, and the girls told her it was probably her imagination playing tricks. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone, or something, was standing just beyond the light. Watching. Later that night, Marcy went to the bathroom, leaving the rest of the girls whispering about crushes and school. But after 20 minutes, she hadn't come back. They called out to her, no answer. Hannah got up to check, the hallway darker than it should have been with all the lights on. She knocked on the bathroom door. No reply. She opened it. Empty. Panic started to rise in the group. They searched the whole upstairs and downstairs. Nothing. Marcy was just gone. Her phone was still in the living room. The front and back doors were locked. It didn't make sense. Then, around 2 a.m., the lights cut out again, but this time, they didn't come back on. In the total darkness, they heard the sound of someone coming down the stairs. Heavy, deliberate steps. Not Marcy's light shuffle. These footsteps were slow, scraping, like someone dragging one foot. They backed into a corner of the room, holding hands, breathing hard, trying not to scream. The footsteps stopped just outside the living room entrance. Then, a whisper. Not Marcy's voice. Deeper. Not quite male or female. Just wrong. I found one. The flashlight app on one of the girls' phones finally turned on, and the room was empty. The hallway was empty. No sign of footsteps, no one there. But scratched into the wooden floor in front of the doorway were 3 letters, crudely etched: run. They bolted upstairs and locked themselves in Marcy's bedroom. Hannah called her mom, barely able to speak. Her mom thought they were pulling a prank. The cops weren't called until Hannah's mom showed up herself 20 minutes later, and found the 3 girls huddled, crying, behind a dresser. Marcy was never found. The police said there was no sign of forced entry. No fingerprints. No trace she'd ever left the house. The padlocked door in the basement. Still sealed. But one officer noted something strange. On the dusty concrete floor in front of that iron door were fresh footprints. Bare feet. Small, like a child's. Leading into the door and none coming out. Marcy's family moved away a few months later. The house was sold again, but no one stays long. There's a rumor that on some nights, when the power cuts out, a girl's voice can be heard calling for help from the basement. But when you go down to check, you find nothing but that iron door, cold to the touch, and always locked from the inside. Story number 2. It was in 2015, in a quiet suburb of Oregon, when 16-year-old Nicole was invited to a sleepover at her friend Dana's place. There were 5 girls total, and Dana's parents were out of town for the weekend, which meant no curfew, junk food, and a lot of horror movies. The night started off light, truth or dare, a makeshift Ouija board, and scary stories shared in whispers. But by 1:30 a.m., things started to feel off. The mood shifted when Dana mentioned that weird things had been happening in her house lately. She kept waking up at 3:17 a.m. every night, like clockwork. Once, she found the attic door wide open even though no one had been up there for months. And just 2 days ago, she swore she saw someone standing at the end of her driveway, staring at her through the window. They all laughed it off, nervous laughter, not genuine, and tried to distract themselves with more snacks. But as the clock crept closer to 3 a.m., Nicole couldn't stop glancing at the time. And sure enough, when 3:17 hit, something changed. There was a sound from upstairs. It wasn't loud, just the creaking of floorboards. But no one was supposed to be up there. Dana's house was a 2-story, but everyone was downstairs in the finished basement. The girls froze. At first, they tried to convince themselves it was the house settling. But then it creaked again. Closer. Like someone was walking across the floor above them. Dana grabbed a baseball bat and crept up the stairs. Nicole and 2 of the others followed behind, while the last girl, Emma, stayed downstairs, too scared to move. The main floor was silent. No lights were on, but the moonlight through the blinds cast long shadows across the floor. Everything looked normal until Nicole noticed something strange. The attic door was open. Not all the way, just a crack, but enough to see the pull-down ladder slightly extended. Dana whispered. That was not open earlier. She decided to climb up, thinking maybe an animal had gotten in. Nicole begged her not to, but Dana was stubborn. She slowly disappeared into the attic while the rest of them waited. A minute passed. Then 2. Then a sound came from the basement. A scream. They rushed down, nearly tripping over each other. Emma was gone. Her sleeping bag, her pillow, still there. But no Emma. Nicole noticed something else. The basement window, one that was too small for even a child to fit through, was wide open. There was no sign of forced entry, no broken glass. They screamed for Emma, tore through the house, and finally pulled Dana out of the attic. She hadn't seen or heard anything up there. But that was just the beginning. When the police arrived, they searched the house thoroughly. No sign of Emma. No forced entry. But something deeply unsettling was found in the attic, an old Polaroid photo wedged between 2 floorboards. It showed 5 girls sleeping in the basement, taken from above. It was them. From that night. The photo hadn't been there when Dana had gone up earlier. She was sure of it. Emma was never found. And in the weeks that followed, each of the other girls reported strange things happening at exactly 3:17 a.m. scratching sounds behind their walls. The faint click of a camera shutter in the dark. One girl found footprints on the ceiling of her room, bare feet. Upside down. Nicole never went to another sleepover again. And to this day, she sets an alarm for 3:16 every single night. Just to make sure she's awake when it is. Story number 3. In 2003, a girl named Lena was having a small birthday sleepover at her house just outside of Asheville, North Carolina. It was a rural area, with woods stretching out behind the house and the closest neighbor about a half-mile away. She'd invited 3 friends, Jenny, Monica, and Claire. They stayed up late eating cake, listening to music, and daring each other to go outside into the dark backyard. At around 11:30 p.m., they decided to play hide and seek in the dark, a tradition at Lena's parties. The rules were simple: one person stayed inside to count, the others hid somewhere in the house, lights off. Lena was the seeker first. She counted to 60 while the other girls scattered. She found Monica quickly, hiding under the dining room table, giggling. Then Jenny, stuffed behind a curtain. Claire, though, was harder to find. They searched the whole house. Upstairs, basement, closets, even the garage. No Claire. After almost 20 minutes, they started getting nervous. They called out for her. No answer. They checked outside, thinking maybe she'd wandered off into the yard. Lena grabbed a flashlight and went around the side of the house, heart pounding. That's when she saw something. A figure. Standing at the edge of the woods. It was small, like a child. Motionless. Just standing in the dark, facing the house. At first Lena thought it was Claire, playing a twisted prank. But the figure didn't move when she called out. It didn't flinch when she shined the light on it. Its face wasn't visible, just long, dark hair and a pale shape beneath it. Lena ran inside. Told the others. They locked the doors, called Claire's phone. No answer. Then Jenny screamed from the hallway. Claire had been in the linen closet the whole time, asleep. She'd crawled in there and dozed off. They were relieved until Lena told them again what she saw outside. They checked the yard together, but the figure was gone. Later that night, well after everyone had settled down into sleeping bags in the living room, Lena woke up to the sound of the back door clicking open. She sat up, frozen. The other girls were asleep. The door creaked. Light footsteps on the hardwood. Slow. Barefoot. Lena whispered, "Hello." Silence. Then a soft whisper, right next to her ear, though no one was there. "Found you." She screamed. The lights flipped on. The door was wide open. No one there. Again, they called the police. The cops searched the area but found no signs of forced entry. No footprints, no one on the security cameras. But they did find something in the backyard the next morning. Dozens of them. Small, barefoot footprints circling the house. Over and over. Like someone had been walking around it for hours. Watching. They didn't match any of the girls' shoe sizes. They were too small. And too many. The officers said it was probably kids messing around. But there was one thing that didn't make sense. All the prints led to the house. None led away. Story number 4. In 2011, two girls, Maya and Liv, had a sleepover at Maya's house while her parents were away for a weekend business trip. It was just the two of them in a quiet, two-story home at the end of a cul-de-sac in Vermont. The weather was icy cold, and snow had started falling heavily by late evening, covering the roads. By midnight, they were officially snowed in. They stayed in Maya's room, watching horror movies on her laptop. They laughed, got scared, then laughed again, until the battery died. Maya reached for the charger under the bed, when suddenly, she paused. There were footsteps. Slow. From downstairs. They froze. Listened. It wasn't the house creaking, it was the distinct, rhythmic sound of someone walking in a steady pattern, heel to toe, across the hardwood floors. Liv whispered, "Are your neighbors close?" "No one's walking distance." Maya said. "And the front door's locked." They tiptoed out of the room and peered down the staircase. Nothing. Still, they grabbed a heavy flashlight and crept downstairs. Every door and window was shut, locked tight. No sign of anyone. No footprints in the snow outside. Eventually, they convinced themselves it was just old pipes or wind knocking something over. They tried to sleep after that, but around 3 a.m., Liv sat bolt upright. She shook Maya awake. "I saw something," she whispered. There was someone in the hallway. Maya rubbed her eyes, scared and annoyed. "Like in the house?" "No. Not in it. Through it." Liv pointed at the door to the hallway, which was slightly ajar. Maya got up, opened the door, and flipped on the hall light. It flickered to life. Nothing. But then she noticed something that made her stomach sink. On the hallway wall, just opposite her bedroom door, was a smudge. A handprint. Small, grayish. Not dirty like mud, more like soot. Or ash. Neither of them had touched the wall. The handprint was too high up for a child. And it wasn't there earlier. Trying to calm down, they decided to sleep in the living room with the TV on for background noise. But neither of them really slept. Every time Maya closed her eyes, she swore she heard whispering. Not clear words. Just murmurs. Like someone talking from another room, just barely out of earshot. The next morning, they checked the hallway again. The handprint was gone. They were both relieved, until Maya went to wash her face and noticed something in the bathroom mirror. Words, faintly outlined in the condensation from their showers. He walks at night. Neither of them had written it. They searched the house top to bottom, every closet, every crawlspace. Nothing. But in the attic, they found something bizarre, an old blanket spread across the insulation, a rusted spoon, a pile of fingernail clippings, and dozens of small drawings on torn paper. Every single one showed the same thing, a tall, featureless man with long, reaching fingers. Standing at the end of a hallway. The cops were called. They didn't find anyone. But they did confirm the attic had been accessed recently, fresh insulation had been disturbed, and there were small, bare footprints in the dust. Maya's parents came back that night and had deadbolts installed on every door and window. But Maya never slept in her room again. Not after what they found in the hallway mirror the next morning, written in fresh condensation, even though no one had showered yet. You weren't supposed to look away. Story number 5. In the fall of 2007, a girl named Talia went to a sleepover at her cousin Kayla's house. It wasn't planned. Talia's parents had a last-minute emergency and needed someone to watch her for the weekend. Kayla was a year older, and her parents were kind but quiet, the kind of people who always spoke in low voices, like someone might be listening. The house was strange. It wasn't old, but it felt like it had secrets. The windows were covered with thick, heavy curtains, even in the daytime. The clocks didn't match, one in the hallway was 10 minutes fast, one in the kitchen was always stuck at 2:44 a.m. And there was one locked door at the end of the hall that no one talked about. That night, after dinner, the girls watched cartoons and ate popcorn on the floor. But Kayla kept glancing at the hallway. Every now and then, she'd flinch, like she heard something. Finally, around midnight, Kayla turned off the TV and whispered something Talia never forgot. Whatever happens, don't open your eyes if you wake up in the middle of the night. Talia laughed, thinking she was joking. But Kayla just stared at her. I'm serious. They went to bed in Kayla's room. Twin beds on either side, a soft hum from an old fan in the corner. At first, everything was fine. But sometime in the night, Talia woke up. She didn't know why at first, just that cold, heavy feeling in her stomach, like she was being watched. The room was pitch black. The fan had stopped. Then she heard it. The sound of breathing. But it wasn't Kayla. It was too close, like someone was standing right next to her bed, inhaling, exhaling. Slow. Wet. She remembered Kayla's warning. Don't open your eyes. So she didn't. But the breathing got louder. And then, footsteps. Slow ones. Circling her bed. The floor creaked under the weight, but the footsteps weren't heavy. They were careful. Then came the whisper. Not sleeping. It was right next to her ear. Talia squeezed her eyes shut so tight they ached. The whisper came again, but this time from across the room, near Kayla. Cheater. And then silence. She doesn't know when she fell asleep. But when she woke up, the sun was shining through the curtains. Kayla was sitting on the edge of her bed, pale and quiet. She didn't ask Talia if she'd seen anything. She just said, I think it liked you. Talia told her parents when she got home, but they brushed it off. Said she had a bad dream. For years, she believed that, too, until Kayla went missing. It was 2013. Kayla had just turned 18. One night she vanished from her room, door locked from the inside, no signs of a break-in. The only clue? Her bedroom clock was found shattered on the floor, stuck at 2:44 a.m. And the carpet, right next to her bed, had a single, dark footprint burned into it, like something had been standing there. Watching. Waiting. Talia never stayed the night at anyone's house again. She hasn't slept in total darkness since. Story number 6. In 2018, a girl named Erin was having a sleepover with her two best friends, Mia and Chloe. Erin's parents were out of town, so they had the house to themselves. They ordered pizza, binge-watched Netflix, and talked about people from school. It was normal, fun, exactly what you'd expect. Around 1 a.m., they decided to prank random people with a burner phone Chloe had. Stupid stuff, is your refrigerator running? Just middle of the night, teenage nonsense. But then Mia got the idea to text random numbers instead of calling. They figured it would be harmless fun. One message they sent was short. "We're watching you." They sent it to a random 10-digit number and forgot about it. Until 5 minutes later it replied. "I see you too." They all laughed. Creepy, sure, but probably just someone playing along. Erin texted back. "What am I wearing then?" The reply came instantly. Blue hoodie. Gray socks. Red nail polish. That stopped everything. Erin was wearing all of that. She stared at the screen, then slowly looked around. The blinds were shut. The lights were off except for the TV. They ran to every window in the house, yanked the blinds, looked outside, nothing. No car parked weirdly. No movement. Erin texted again, hands shaking. "Who is this?" The reply. "Check the basement." None of them wanted to, obviously. They were terrified. But Chloe, trying to be brave, grabbed a knife from the kitchen and opened the basement door. Erin flipped the light switch. Nothing. Chloe took one step down, then stopped cold. Erin saw her freeze. "Someone standing at the bottom," she whispered. They slammed the door shut and pushed the couch in front of it. Mia was already calling the police. While they waited, they huddled in the kitchen with a knife and a baseball bat, trying to stay calm. Then Erin's phone buzzed again. A picture. Taken through the window. It showed the three of them, right now, in the kitchen. Meaning whoever was out there, they weren't just in the basement. They were everywhere. The cops arrived within 10 minutes. They found no one in the house, no one in the basement, nothing in the yard. But one officer noticed something strange, muddy footprints near the back door. Not just outside. Inside, too. But they didn't lead to or from the door. They just started in the middle of the kitchen floor. Like someone had been standing there. And then vanished. They traced the number. It didn't exist. Not a real carrier, not a burner, not anything. Just a dead string of digits with no origin. The girls never got another message. But 2 weeks later, Erin got a plain white envelope in the mail. No return address. No stamp. Inside was a single photo. It showed her asleep in her bed. The photo was taken from about 2 feet away. She lives on the second floor. And her window was locked.